Hello, welcome everybody to the Stargazers Sports podcast for episode 3. Yes, we are excited today, as we are every single week, to talk Cowboys football, but specifically to talk about why the Dallas Cowboys head coach, Mike McCarthy, will lead the Dallas Cowboys to a Super Bowl in 2023. Not maybe, not might, but why he will lead the Cowboys to a Super Bowl in 2023. What's up, Elliot? So glad to see you here in the chat tonight. This is, as I said, this is episode 3. I thought I maybe was going to be able to end the series tonight, but I said, nope, we're not going to be able to end it tonight. So I think we're going to do one more episode on this series after today, just because there's some things that I want to get into specifically about how the offense will look for this upcoming season, and address some things, some concerns that the fans may have about Dak Prescott's interceptions and things like that. But we could not get into that today because we needed to address some things and nip some things in the bud, I feel like, once and for all, when it comes to our head coach, Coach Mike McCarthy. So I want to encourage everybody before we get started. Hey, Quetta, how you doing? Before we get started, I want to encourage you guys to please like this video, share the video as well to your social media platforms, and also please subscribe to the Blast Music 247 YouTube channel. This is an awesome platform, guys, that not only has so many different podcasts ranging from mental health to spoken word to sports, but it also features various independent music artists who are up and coming and really have trying to prove their mark or show themselves to the music industry. So I encourage you guys to do that, but please follow me on all my social media platforms. You can see them down below, as well as to my YouTube channel, which is STARGAZERS Sports. And if you would be so kind to also donate to my channel as well, please donate to my channel, because that gives me the ability. Every penny that you donate helps me upgrade Stargazers. Without further ado, we're going to go ahead and move and get into this presentation today. So let me go ahead and transition and let's get into it. Okay, so why Mike McCarthy will lead the Dallas Cowboys to a Super Bowl in 2023, part 3. Let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so last week, if you tuned in, we talked about specifically Mike McCarthy's hiatus, which was when he took a year off in 2019 to kind of reflect and go back over his history, but also update his playbooks. He invented the Mike McCarthy group with 3 or 4 other coaches where they just delved deep into film and really was able to take what they did in the past and then see how the league was at the present time and combine those concepts and things like that. So that's what we did last week. But today, specifically, we're going to be talking about Mike's transition to the actual, to being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Because previously we hadn't even gotten to us yet. We had episode 1, we talked about his beginning, his time in New Orleans, time in Kansas City, time in when he was at the University of Pittsburgh, all right? And then we transitioned into, like I said, his hiatus for episode 2. And now in episode 3, we are going to finally transition into Mike's time as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. So, just to give us a brief little synopsis, you can see here on the screen for those who are listening. I was encouraged those who are listening to me on the radio, please go to the YouTube channel, Blast Music 247 YouTube channel, so that you can actually see my presentation. You can take screenshots of it or whatever, if you would like to have it as notes and things like that. But anyway, so Coach Mike came to the Dallas Cowboys in 2020, right? That was his first season. So in that season, he goes 6-10, right? Because why? We lost Dak Prescott, right? And so that is when Dak went down in week 5, had the catastrophic leg injury where his leg was literally, essentially, his ankle was literally snapped in half. And even despite losing Dak for that the whole season, we still were 1 win away from winning the division and making playoffs. We of course didn't do that because we ended up losing to the Giants the last week, and then y'all remember the Eagles essentially tanked, which then pushed the Washington Commanders into first place. So they're the ones who took the division in 2020. Okay. Then we move on to 2021, where we go 12-5, where despite Dak, remember, Dak was coming off an injury. So that whole offseason, Dak was pretty much rehabbing, right? Didn't really get to do much practice. You guys may see now, if you follow the players and things on social media, you see all the camaraderie that Dak is able to build with his guys, how many throwing sessions and workouts and things that they've been able to do. They were just in Atlanta this past weekend doing throwing sessions and really building up that team chemistry that you need in order to be a great team. But of course, Dak Prescott was not able to do that. So he came fresh off an injury. We know he played lights out in that Cowboys versus Bucks game. Played lights out. Despite all Dak's critics, he didn't have any critics that night. Everybody was saying, from his harshest critics, saying that Dak Prescott, Colin Cowherd, Emmanuel Acho, all was saying Dak Prescott was elite after that performance. But of course, then we know that Dak faced 2 injuries. He had that shoulder injury leading up into week 1. And then after putting up the most points against a Bill Belichick defense ever, winning in overtime, he hurt his calf. So that caused him to miss a game. But even despite all of that went on with Dak, we won the division. We actually swept the division. I don't know if you guys realize, how big of a feat that is, but it's actually a huge feat or a huge accomplishment for you to completely sweep your division. They didn't win not one time against you, right? And most of our wins against our division was complete domination. So we swept our division. Mike McCarthy then, as our head coach, gets his first playoff appearance. But, of course, what happened? we were first round exited versus the 49ers, which everybody was so sad and so depressed after that. People will tell you to this day that was probably the most disappointing because we really felt like we had the team right, we had the defense, we had the offense, we were the number one offense in the league. It was a lot. It was a lot of hope in the building, just for us to not make it past the first round. And then we transitioned into 2022. And I'm gonna do a brief pause just for a second, guys. Give me just a second. Okay, we're back. Sorry, guys. I had to take care of something really fast. But anyway, so then we transitioned into 2022, right? Where Mike McCarthy goes 12-5 again. Okay? So he goes 12-5 again, despite Dak Prescott missing more time, right? Dak missed 5 games because he ended up getting that thumb injury. And so Mike was able to go 4-1 with his backup QB. This is the reason why I, on my platforms, was advocating for Mike McCarthy to at least be in the running for Coach of the Year. Because everybody knows that when you lose your starting QB, I'll be the first one to admit it. When we lost that, I said our season's over. Flat out. I did not think that we were going to be able to push through and win the way that we did, especially the way the schedule was set up. We had to play the Super Bowl winner and the Super Bowl runner-up early in the season. But yet, Mike McCarthy was able to win those games, right? Able to motivate his team, make sure everybody was prepared, able to let Smallin down the playbook, make things quicker for Cooper Rush, and we were able to pull out 4-1. We actually could have went 5-0 if our offensive coordinator didn't decide to pass all over the field when we played Philadelphia. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. And so something else that Mike was able to accomplish. Best record in the NFL versus winning teams. Y'all remember in 2021, that was our critique. They said, Dallas, y'all can beat the good teams. When y'all playing these playoff teams, when y'all play winning teams, y'all don't win. Y'all don't win. Remember that? But then we were able to last year. Mike was able to secure, right? Mike was able to, with his quarterback going down for 5 weeks, he was able to have the best record versus winning teams in the NFL. Okay? Then we go to the playoffs again. This is the first time that Dallas had 2 back-to-back playoff appearances since the 2006-2007 season. So let me repeat that again. This was the first time that the Dallas Cowboys were able to have 2 back-to-back playoff appearances since 2006 and 2007 season. Okay? And so, granted, we had an uphill battle to win the playoff game that we did. Number one, we had never beaten Tom Brady. And I don't care what y'all say about how the Bucs, they weren't a good team. They weren't that defense was still a top 10 defense. Tom Brady is still Tom Brady. Everybody knows, even when the Bucs won their Super Bowl, remember, they got better going toward the end of the season. It's not like they were on fire all season, right? So, again, Tom Brady is Tom Brady. We had never beaten them. But we go up to Tampa Land, and we destroy the Bucs. Destroyed the Bucs. Dak Prescott had 5 touchdowns, 4 in the air, 1 on the ground. No interceptions. I mean, it was just beautiful, right? It was just a sight to see. It was so beautiful. And that was also our first road playoff win, guys, in 30 years. Let that sink in. Under Mike McCarthy, And remember, it wasn't just the road playoff game. Remember, there were narratives. Dallas, we can't win on grass. Y'all remember that? We can't play on grass. We can't win when we wear our, like I got the shirt on, when we wear our navy blue jerseys. We just can't win. All of those things were a curse. Not only did we play on grass, not only did we wear our navy blue jerseys, right? But we also won. And not just barely won, we won in dominating fashion, right? So this comes in, I wanted to give us a synopsis, right, of what Mike McCarthy has been able to accomplish and really drive it home in our heads, especially as fans, because as I said, I'm doing this whole series on Mike McCarthy because we need to be having confidence in our coach. Despite what these lists, these BS lists that we see put out saying he's the 30th best coach and just crazy stuff, and so we're going to get as well to all the myths that or all the narratives that swirl around our coach, right? And we're gonna bust them. Okay, we're gonna bust some myths about our coach. Okay, but anyway, let's go ahead and get into the next slide. So this is a fun episode because y'all remember that show Mythbusters? And so y'all see, if you're looking on in the YouTube, you'll see how I got the show background and anything. But we're gonna bust some myths for Mike McCarthy. Once and for all, we are going to get some things clear and some things settled. And this is also encouraging for you guys, the fans, as well, so that when you hear people mouthing off about our coach, you can combat them with what? The facts. Exactly. So let's go ahead and get into myth one. So myth one is Mike McCarthy is lazy. What does he do, right? He doesn't do anything. That was a narrative that was swirling him before he became, now he is calling the plays. Before he called the plays, that's what everybody wondered. What does he do? We had the fan, 105.3, the fan saying we go to practice and we see Dan Quinn, he's working with his guys, and we see Kellen Moore, but Mike McCarthy, what does he do? It doesn't look like he does anything, right? They were saying that about him at training camp and things like that. We'd never seen Mike McCarthy work with the players, talk to the players, all of these things, all of these narratives about Mike McCarthy that he's lazy, okay? But let's bust that myth, right? So since Mike has become the head coach, he has established a winning culture. Okay? Not only has he had back-to-back playoff appearances, right? He's had back-to-back playoff appearances. He's had back-to-back winning seasons despite philosophical differences with his offensive coordinator. And we're going to get into that in just a second. If you're watching on YouTube, you can already see it on here on the slide, the philosophical differences. But anyway, let's keep going. Then Mike McCarthy has completely transformed. So not only a winning culture, but a culture that he has established as a head coach to where his players believe in him, which is huge for any coach. Because in order for a coach to be able to coach his players have to be able to understand and believe in what he's trying to teach them. Okay? So we're going to listen to a clip of Coach Mike McCarthy specifically talking about the themes that he has created since he's been the Dallas Cowboys head coach, how he goes about that, and why he decides to create these themes in the first place. So if you can help us play that clip now, that would be amazing.
How do you typically go about formulating that?
Well, I mean, did Charlotte ask you to ask that? Because, I mean, they're going to get the shirts and hats. I'm getting a lot of pressure here for the word. This is like you're like the fifth person to bring it up today, so I'm just Yeah, not that they'd ever plan anything in here. So, yeah, I know what the theme is, but I'm not going to reveal the word yet. I'm going around a couple of different things, and to be honest with you, I just have always done it this way, and I just really want it to fit the 2023 football team too. So, and we'll always do that that first Monday before the regular season game. So I've always held it later, but I have to get it in for the shirts and sweatshirts. So we'll get it in here next couple of weeks, hopefully. So.
What are some of the different things in the past you've done as far as discovering that or going about? I know there was like the Kintsugi last year.
Yeah, definitely. Kintsugi was really a subtopic of our resilience scheme. It's a theme, resilience was the theme last year. Victory was the theme, in 2021. 2020 vision was the theme of 2020. So and I've done it every year. I just think it's a good trigger. It's a coaching point that we can all grab onto, and I think the players enjoy it too. It's just an emotional focal point that we can grab onto. So I've always enjoyed it, and in the football operations has I think enjoyed it also. So if they don't, let me know, because it's saving some work.
So in that clip, Mike McCarthy went over his themes that he set up. So he said 2020, it was 2020 vision. 2021 was victory. 2022 was resilience. We're still waiting on what our theme is. But you know what? You know how I really started to, the theme, because he said, I do it right to it. It's an emotional, when we have a theme, it's what drives our players. It drives them emotionally when we have a set word, a set focus, right? To keep them going throughout the season, because we know the season is long. So not only is it what you play 17 games, but then hopefully, if your team makes playoffs, you may have to play wild card, divisional, championship, Super Bowl. So you may have 4 other games. Well, that's your goal, to play 4 other games as well. So you need something, because when the players, their bodies, we know injuries and fatigue, all of that's going to come. These players are playing every single week, getting hit like they're in car accidents every single freaking week. So they need something to draw onto. And he said, that's why I create the themes. And that's why I want to encourage other coaches to do the themes, because that's what pushes our team. And what was crazy is that in 2022, you could really see resilience on the field. Y'all remember the Texans game? Y'all remember that game? Where it looked Dak throw the interception at the goal line. It backed up in our own 10. Dak threw the interception. We thought for sure we're going to lose. For sure. But then DeMarcus Lawrence does that key stop. We get the ball back. Dak drives all the way down the field and we win the game. You see moments like that. That resembles resilience, because the players could have easily said, you know what, we got 3 minutes left. It's over. We just need to go ahead and take this L. But never once did the players give up. And we saw that even when we took losses, when we lost in Green Bay, what did we do? Went right up to Vikings land and destroyed them. The Vikings with Justin Jefferson, y'all say is the best wide receiver, right? He's the best wide receiver in football. Didn't score 1 touchdown. They got 3 points. So I'm telling you guys this so that we can see that Mike McCarthy has created a culture, not only a winning culture, which winning culture comes with actually winning games, but also being able to emotionally connect with your team. Okay. Then also, Mike McCarthy is the reason we ran the ball in 2022. I know people like to, because the critique against Kellen Moore is what? He didn't like to run the ball. But then we have the stat nerds. Don't we all love those stat nerds? Stat nerds say, oh, well, look at, we, top 10 and rushing attempts and all of this stuff. So they bring all of this stuff up to defend Kellen Moore. But I want to go ahead and read this excerpt here. I'm going to read this excerpt here. This excerpt is from an article entitled, I Want to Run the Damn Ball. Mike McCarthy outlined surprising vision shift for Cowboys offense in his play calling return. This is a Yahoo Sports article by Jory Epstein that was written in March 2023. So I'm going to read it to you guys. And it reads, it says, this is Mike McCarthy speaking. So he says, I've been where Kellen has been, McCarthy said. Kellen wants to light the scoreboard up, but I want to run the damn ball so I can rest my defense. Think, when you're a coordinator, you know, but you're in charge of the offense. Being a head coach and being a play caller, you're a little more in tune. I don't desire to be the number one offense in the league. I want to be the number one team in the league with the number of wins in the championship. And if we got to give up some production and take care of the ball better to get that, then that's what we'll do. So that pretty much sums up the philosophical differences between Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore. And there are various Cowboys content creators. I have no shame in my game to shout them out. Boss Cowboys Sports, Jay Tuck from Cowboys Fans Only, was CFO Sports. Those are two guys that really delved into all season how Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore were not on the same page. So if you would like to hear more or do a deeper dive into that, for sake of time, I can't go deep into it, but there's people who already have. So you can more than welcome to go to those channels and see, the breakdown of those philosophical differences. But anyway, this quote from Mike McCarthy sums it up. Mike McCarthy wanted to run the ball so that the defense could rest. Kellen Moore was so focused on lighting up the scoreboard, getting points, even though that wasn't what was best for our defense. It also wasn't best for our offensive line because you're passing the ball too much and putting pressure. Mike McCarthy, in an interview this past season in a press conference, said, you want your offensive line to go forward, not backwards all game, because that's how injuries result, right? So it's a lot of reasons why Mike McCarthy wanted to. Also, when you run the ball more, you also protect your quarterback. So for those who were so concerned about Dak Prescott's interceptions, there's a reason why Dak had to keep forcing the ball in the tight windows. We had issues with our wide receivers not being able to separate outside of CeeDee Lamb. Noah Brown and Michael Gallup were at the bottom of the league in separation. So there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of issues that were going on between Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore. And I want to address this also because there are beat writers, sports analysts that critique Mike McCarthy as well because they say, well, if it was that bad, there were some people legit angry when Mike McCarthy said this. And I think he said this, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, he said this at around the time of the combine, I think, something like that. And there were people, his critics, mad at him because they said, oh, well, if it was that bad and yada, 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 then why didn't you just take over play calling, Mike? Why didn't you just take over play calling? But I want to remind you guys what I taught you in the last episode, which was during Mike McCarthy's hiatus, he found out that if you are going to call the offense or call the defense, you need to install it. Mike McCarthy addressed that in a press conference as well because he was asked directly, well, Mike, why don't you assume play calling? He addressed it in a press conference that was after our loss against the 49ers in 2021. And he said exactly his philosophy, that if you call the offense, you have to install it. Why do you have to install the offense or the defense if you're calling it? Because the players need to know the why. They need to know from you, the play caller, the coach, why are we running these specific plays? And so Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore was the only coach that stayed with him from the Jason Garrett era, which obviously that would mean that if everybody else was removed and fired and Kellen was the only one there, that means that Kellen Moore was most likely made to stay there, especially now since you know that they had philosophical differences. I don't think any coach would willingly have somebody in their camp or on their staff who doesn't believe in what they believe in philosophically. That just doesn't make sense. So I'm busting this myth that he is lazy. Mike McCarthy is in no way lazy, because he's established a winning culture, right? Not only has he established a winning culture, but he's established a culture that his players believe in, okay? He's also the reason why we were able to even get success and run the ball successfully in 2022. As you can see, I just went over the philosophical differences, okay? So, and Mike also had called, y'all have to really listen. I keep telling y'all gotta this season, for everybody who's listening to me, please listen to all of the press conferences from Mike McCarthy, from the assistant coaches, because inside those press conferences is where you will really get information that you need in order to be able to understand what's going on. And now I'm going to turn it over to Veep so that we can do our Blast Artist of the Week. Uh-oh, Veep, we can't hear you. I can't hear you. I don't know if the audience can. You guys forgive us. We're just trying to figure out some audio. See why we can't hear V. Still cannot hear you. It could just be on my end though.
All right.
Boom. There you go. Awesome.
I don't know what happened. I think it was the program I'm using. But anyway, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining Blast tonight, as well as STARGAZERS Sports. Thank you for tuning in. And tonight, Blast Artist of the Week is sponsored by the Lee Law Firm. If you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, definitely needing some legal assistance, look up the Lee Law Firm. You can find them on Facebook, as well as after the video. The video tonight is my man, Chris White, okay? An amazing rapper from North Carolina, and this is called I Said What I Said. Let's check it out.
I said what I said. I am not afraid. I'm a man, baby, a dog. If you're scared, I said what I said. I'm black like Bernie Mac. I am not afraid. I'm a manly man. Maybe get a dog if you're scared. Cats stay on the porch. I only run with thoroughbreds. I said what I said, I'm black like Bernie Mac. I am not afraid, I'm a manly man. Maybe get a dog if you scared, cat stay on the porch. Dear racism, let me be transparent. No more Mr. Nice Guy, I am not my grandparents. Fed up, enough is enough. Like for real, what's up? Both middle fingers up. We've been waiting on Dr. King's dream, but that knee on Floyd's neck got me leaning more towards Malcolm X. By any means, and you ain't seen nothing yet. You reap what you sow, so you know what to expect, ho. What you expect, I have supreme intellect. So when I call you out your name, it's with all disrespect. Since you wouldn't heed when we tried a peaceful protest, now we're gonna need you to shut up and cut the check. Too many victims to name, so sick of the attacks, and no amount of reparations could ever bring them back. Now before you fix your mouth to talk about them bootstraps, know this whole mother was built on my ancestors' back. You probably say I'm not a Christian and my words lack tact. So in Jesus' name I pray your grandbabies be black. When you can't sleep and count sheep, I hope they be black. And in your dreams see me kicking this rap at the deep pack. In a room filled with brothers and sisters, we be packed. Screaming wake up, thirsty your coffee and tea black. Like a Tootsie Roll, whatever you think you see black. Ever haunted by the ghosts of those murdered in ski masks. Shame that they had to die to be free at last. Land of the free, huh? We don't believe that trash. No matter how low the price go, keep your gas. And unless I'm buying black, I'ma keep my cash. Collectively, let me speak on the black people's behalf. You wouldn't listen, now you wanna talk, we'll pass. Y'all funny like Harlem Nights, making us laugh like Deloise kiss our entire, yeah. I said what I said, I'm black, like Bernie Mac. I am not afraid, I'm a manly man. Maybe get a dog if you scared. Cats stay on the porch, I only run with thoroughbred, yeah. I said what I said, I'm black, like Bernie Mac. I am not afraid, I'm a manly man. Maybe get a dog if you scared. Cats stay on the porch, I only run with thoroughbreds. I said what I said, I'm black, like Bernie Mac. I am not afraid, I'm a manly man. Get a dog if you scared. I only run with thoroughbreds. I said what I said, black, like Bernie Mac. I am not afraid, I'm a manly man. Maybe get a dog if you scared. Cats stay on the porch, I only run with thoroughbreds. Now say his name, say her name, say his name. No justice, name, no peace. We don't need no race, her name, police. No justice, name, no peace. We don't need no racist, hell police. Yeah, say their name. No I said what I said. No race, their name. I am not afraid. Say their name. No peace. We prepared like we ain't scared. We ain't scared, yeah. I said what I said, I'm black, like Bernie Mac. I am not afraid, I'm a manly man. Maybe get a dog if you're scared. Cats stay on the porch, I only run with thoroughbreds.
The Lee Law Firm.
The Lee Law Firm.
It is a law firm for those in the Dallas-Fort Worth area seeking a holistic approach to solving their legal matters. Just some of the legal services the firm provides. It's divorces, custody suits, child support, and adoptive child services, criminal defense, DUI defense, wills, trust, power of attorneys, and many, many more. You can contact the Lee Law Firm.
The Lee Law Firm.
And make sure that you say the word blast when you speak to the Lee Law Firm representatives and receive 10% discount on your initial retainer to hire the firm. All right, that was my man Chris White with I Said What I Said. And if you are an independent artist or a spoken word poet or even up and coming comedian that would like to gain some exposure, you can go to blastmusic247.com and register for free. But hold on, Blast is not just for the artists, but it's also for the fans. If you love great music, just like that one you've heard from my man Chris White, there's artists with hundreds of music that you can listen to, right, on whatever device you're using. Go to Blast Music 247 and register for free. All right, there you go, Star.
Thank you, Veep. Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the next myth. Oh no, I love this one. He doesn't know football. And I'll be quite honest, this is a narrative that kind of started getting put out by Aaron Rodgers during the time that Mike McCarthy, left Green Bay. This was something that Aaron Rodgers said or somewhere along the line. And from there, it's just kind of spiraled out of control. And Mike McCarthy's play calling ability and a lot of things have been questioned. So to bust this myth, one, if you've been listening to my series, if you haven't listened to it, just go back and listen. It's here on the Blast 247 YouTube channel. It's also on my channel, STARGAZERS Sports YouTube. But Mike McCarthy is an analytics guy who is extremely detailed, right, in the way that he not only coaches the game, but in the way that he trains his assistant coaches. So last week, I went over how Mike McCarthy is a former quality control coach. If you don't know what a quality control coach is, a quality control coach is the coach who is responsible for diving into film about 5 weeks in advance, analyzing the opposing team's tendencies and things like that, right? And then they prepare the quarterback and prepare the scout team. They prepare them, right, so that the quarterback knows what he's looking for when he's playing the opposing defense. So this is how Mike McCarthy entered into the league. And when he was a quality control coach for the Kansas City Chiefs under Coach Marty Schottenheimer, who is the father of our now offensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer. I also went over how Mike McCarthy formed the McCarthy Group during his 2019 hiatus in the previous episode, which was a group with 3 former head coaches in a football tech, where they literally, I already explained at the beginning of the show, but they delved into film from the past, the present, delved into all different offensive, defensive systems and everything like that, to make sure that they were able to, like I said, update their playbooks, also update their knowledge, and prepare themselves for their next head coaching job. So you have to ask yourself, why would a coach, or how can a coach who has done that, who's a former quality control coach, right, who formed this whole group that was basically about nothing but analysis and analytics and looking at team trends and all of this stuff. And then on top of that, you can see here in the background, which is the great Bill Walsh, who is the inventor of the modern day West Coast with Joe Montana, which I forgot to say, but Mike McCarthy was a quality control coach when Joe Montana went to the Chiefs. But anyway, Mike McCarthy is a 3rd generation Bill Walsh disciple. And so if you listened to episode 1, you will know why that is, through Coach Paul Hackett, right? So ask yourself, how can a coach who has done all of these things that I just named not know football? Okay? Really ask yourself that question. Can I be a 3rd generation Bill Walsh disciple, form a whole analytics group during my time? I took a whole year off just so I could analyze the game. Coaches don't really do that. Like, look at Frank Reich. He got fired in Coastland, went right to the Panthers. Like, coaches don't even take years off generally to really get themselves together mentally and figure out, where did I go wrong? How can I be better? A guy who coached former Hall of Fame, he's coached Brett Favre, he's coached Joe Montana, he's coached Aaron Rodgers, right? So how can a guy that has done some of the best quarterbacks in league history, how can he was coaching these guys? And ask yourself, then he's, like I said, a Bill Walsh disciple from one of the founders of the modern day NFL, not know football. And so I also want us to listen. I'm going to play a little clip of our new offensive coordinator, Coach Brian Schottenheimer, where he's going to give you a glimpse into just how detailed. He's going to explain the complete layout of how they are. This is a clip from the rookie minicamp, how they process and train, how all of this set up to train the rookies. And then he's also going to go over who his relationship with Mike McCarthy and what Mike McCarthy means to him. So, V, can you go ahead and play that clip for us?
So where are you guys in the process, you and Mike, and putting this thing together offensively and the changes in the last couple months you guys have?
Yeah, it's been a grind. It's been fun. As you guys know, look, the system's not broke. I mean, it's not broken. They've won a lot of games here. Mike's been around for that. They've scored a ton of points. I have a ton of respect for Kellen and Nuss and Skip and Philbin and those guys. I mean, I've coached with most of those guys before. But in terms of the process, we're getting organized for OTAs, and we've had a lot of discussions. It's certainly a starting point. When you put in OTA install 1 and you go through the process, there'll be things maybe in OTA install 1 that might be a little different in training camp install 1. But the way it's set up is pretty cool. They hear it in phase 2 for the first time. So our vets have heard really we're 12 concept teach days in. Okay, so a concept teach day is basically where we take a family of plays and install those. All the different adjustments and things with not as many formations. And then when we get into OTAs, we'll actually put together real installs with specific formations and builds, and then we'll tweak those as we prepare for training camp. So when you do it right, which I think we're doing it right, they hear it one time in phase 1 and phase 2. They hear it again in OTAs. They hear it again in minicamp, and then you try to perfect it when you get to training camp. That's at least the goal. I've always looked at it as a coordinator is that you teach the system in phase 1, okay, in phase 2, you try to detail it in OTAs, phase 3, and then the goal is to come out where you've perfected it and the guys can play fast and react, and that's what you're trying to get done in training camp and preseason games.
What's your first memory with Mike?
It's easy memory. He was the in charge of self-scout, quality control, and he brought me a binder about this big of all the reports that I was responsible for. And I had been in St. Louis with Coach Vermeil, who was very meticulous, which is good because I cut my teeth with Coach Vermeil. But Mike brought this book in and basically dropped it on the table and said, hey, this is where you're starting. And I was like, oh, my gosh. He just he taught me how important it was to learn the game. I mean, I think 2 years removed from college. I went to St. Louis for a year, and then I wanted to move around as a young coach. So I wanted to work for my dad. That was something I wanted to do. And Mike was great. Jimmy Ray was great. Was around Mike Solari. A lot of these guys have really just invested in me, and a lot of my foundations and principles and things I believe in come from all those guys. And so he's a hell of a football coach.
What have you thought of?
Okay. So I wanted to play that clip from Coach Brian, who is now our offensive coordinator. One, explaining just how detailed the installation process is for how they get the rookies acclimated, right? He explained it all. It's like we're in a 12-week process, so we start off, or 12 installs. So we start off with this in minicamp. Then after minicamp, then we move into, we add more onto it for OTAs. And after that, then we add more onto it so that by the time we're going to training camp, right, we're hitting the ground running, okay? Then he also explained how Mike McCarthy was the one who taught him how important it was to know and learn the game. So, and how Mike McCarthy is the reason, like, that he knows, or one of the reasons, because he named another coach, but one of the reasons and why he knows the game and why he coaches the way that he does. So I really want us to comprehend and understand that, right? Because, again, if somebody doesn't know football, how can I be encouraging you to know football, which has pushed you on your trajectory, sorry, guys, your trajectory as a NFL coach, right? Mike McCarthy is a Super Bowl winning NFL coach. How can a Super Bowl winning NFL coach not know football? Please ask yourself, how can a coach who is doing something in Dallas that hasn't been done in decades not know football? Okay, so really get that seeping into you guys' heads there. And like I said, if you're listening on the radio, please go to the Blast Music 247 YouTube channel. Feel free to take notes, take a screenshot of these slides that I have here on the screen. So that if you're ever facing somebody in the barbershop, in the grocery store, or whatever, who proceeds out of their mouth to say these bullshit narratives about Mike McCarthy, you can spit to them back the facts. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to our next slide, which, this one is a famous critique of Coach Mike, which says he has bad clock management skills. I don't know how many times, and let me move my screen, my little thing, so y'all can see. But I don't know how many freaking times I have heard this, that Mike McCarthy, he just can't manage that clock. So let's go ahead and address it and bust this myth. So number one, I want to say all coaches have struggled with clock management from time to time. All coaches struggle with clock management. Okay, let's get that straight, because they are having to make decisions during the emotion and the heat of the game under split seconds, right? It's as simple as that. But also, I want to say this. Mike doesn't have any articles written on him about his clock management, besides in 2021 when he got criticized by the way he handled the clock in the Chargers and the Eagles games, both games in which he won, right? But let me tell you, Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, I named, because these are three, great coaches of the modern NFL. I mean, honestly, NFL history, right? So those three coaches have each made huge clock management mistakes that have lost them championships in Super Bowls. And I'm going to read from this excerpt here from an article that specifically went over why. And so the article is entitled "Second Nature: Why NFL Coaches Are So Prone to Clock Management Blunders." This is an SI.com article written by Michael McKnight in 2016. Okay, so, and it reads, it says, the 2015 NFL season featured more games decided by 7 or fewer points than any season in history. And most of those outcomes can be directly attributed to clock decisions made in the closing minutes. Broncos assistant Joe Camillus, who coaches special teams for the reigning champs and aides in their clock management, was asked recently whether outsiders have any idea how hard it is to grasp the infinite scenarios presented by the clock, the score, and the game situation, and then to make pressurized split-second decisions. No, he replied, laughing. I was talking about it with my father-in-law. The closest comparison we could come up with was an air traffic controller. You've got 1,000 things going on. You're watching 20 planes. Certainly the stakes are higher in that setting, but air traffic controllers don't work under the scrutiny of tens of millions of eyeballs. You can prepare yourself, says Darren Rizzi, the Dolphins' assistant, who'll help new coach Adam Gase with clock-related decisions. But the unpredictability is why I don't think anyone can ever truly master it. Even the best coaches have made mistakes. So I read this article to you guys, and in this article, I encourage you, and this is why I put the sources here so that you guys can go read the full article, because in this full article, they delve into major mistakes that Andy Reid has made, Bill Belichick, also Pete Carroll, and other coaches as well. But I named those three because those are the three coaches that really stand out to us in their greatness, right, as coaches. I don't think it's even debatable that Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, and Pete Carroll are great coaches. So I wanted to read this article to help us realize that all coaches struggle with clock management, including the great ones, right? But also to let you guys know that Mike McCarthy, if he had as bad of clock management skills as people try to say he does, don't you think that there would be multiple sources and articles and things written by how bad his clock management is? But there's not. And so I put this article, this excerpt from the article as a point to one show that we sitting on the couch, we can criticize these coaches all freaking day about, oh, they should have did this and they should have ran it, like we know, but what I want us was we on the couch. Okay, so we are what they call sofa quarterbacks, sofa coaches, right? Because we think if we were in a position, we would make the better decision. But this excerpt tells you like just how difficult it is to make. You're always going to be criticized, right? If your decision works, you're great. If your decision fails, then you're a horrible coach and you're terrible and you lost the game, right, for your team. So I wanted to put this out here and dispel this myth that Mike McCarthy has these horrible clock management skills that have costed us games. Because honestly, guys, it's just not true. It's not true historically. It's not true for him as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Again, I encourage you to read that full article so that you can see there are other coaches that I'm sure many people have, or everybody has Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, and Pete Carroll ahead of Mike McCarthy as far as greatness as coaches. And each of those great coaches have made horrible decisions that have cost, like I said, their teams Super Bowls. So, moving on to our final myth, which is, I didn't have my music on. Just noticed that. But anyway, moving on to myth 4, which is he only won the Super Bowl because he had Aaron Rodgers, right? And so I love to address this situation because it is hilarious to me that they did the same thing with Tom and Bill, right? They said Tom only was this because of Bill, and Bill was only this because of Tom. I think what we got to realize is that to win a Super Bowl, it is the head coach. It's also the players, right? So not one makes the other, right? I don't think you can say that. Or you can argue that they made each other or that they needed each other to win the Super Bowl. Well, obviously they did because Aaron Rodgers was Mike McCarthy's quarterback, right? And Mike McCarthy was Aaron Rodgers' coach. But anyway, let's go into this. So it's before Mike McCarthy's departure, Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl, had 3 NFC championship appearances, had 2 MVPs. Uh-oh. Can you guys hear me? Okay. My screen just went away from me. I'm not sure. I don't know if you guys can still see me on YouTube. Not sure what's going on with that. Hopefully, okay, you guys cannot see me. I don't know what just happened, guys. I don't know what I should do here. No, we're good on all of that. I don't know why would it just go out like that. Oh no. Don't we just love technology? I could possibly go out and come back in, but I don't know how that would affect it. Sorry, guys. Give me just a second to figure this out. Okay, we should be back and good. Sorry, guys. So anyway, before Mike, okay, I went over that. Okay, so he had 2 MVPs in 2011 and 2014. Since Mike McCarthy's departure from Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers has 2 NFC championship appearances, both in which he lost, one to the 49ers, the other one to the Bucs. He has 2 MVPs, right? He won 2 back-to-back MVPs in 2020 and 2021. but he also got his butt put out of Green Bay. And you can see here, sent to the Jets, right, after failing to make playoffs in 2022 season. And he also had a pretty bad season in 2022. Now you can attribute that to his wide receivers and things like that. Granted, I'm not going to argue with it there. But regardless, if anything, it should show you that there's a lot of things that make a quarterback good. So coaching, also the players that he has around him. I want to point this out just for, even though we're not talking about Dak Prescott, we're always kind of talking about Dak Prescott when people criticize Dak. But let's criticize Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers lost to the same 49ers defense in 2021 and actually played worse than Dak. No one says anything. Aaron Rodgers had a terrible season when he lost his number one wide receiver. He couldn't even make playoffs. Dak lost his number wide receiver. He went 12-5 and made playoffs. So not only made playoffs, but retired Tom Brady. You see what I'm saying here? So I think we really got to get our head around a lot of these narratives, right? That swirl our team. That's the whole reason that Stargazer Sports exists, is to dispel the narratives around the false narratives, the myths that surround our coach, and that surround our players, and even some myths that surround our front office. Okay. But anyway, guys, so I believe that this live pretty much debunks myth 4, right? Because Aaron Rodgers has not been back, has not won a championship game, and has not been back to the Super Bowl since Mike McCarthy left. And I think that if Aaron Rodgers made Mike McCarthy, then he should have had the exact same success. He did have the best wide receiver in football up until the 2022 season. Right? Great coach, great Aaron Jones, great running game, top 10 defense. And also, what y'all say, Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT, right? The baby GOAT is Tom Brady and it's Aaron Rodgers. So have to ask yourself, if it was really Aaron Rodgers, wouldn't he have had more success after Mike's departure? Yeah. So that concludes my presentation for today. I am really happy and glad for everybody who joined the show today. Hopefully you guys learned some things as we continue on this journey, learning about Mike McCarthy and really solidifying our confidence in him as our head coach, and understanding who he is, and helping. I hope these episodes are helping us have faith, not blind faith, but actual faith in our coach, knowing that he will lead us to a Super Bowl in 2023. So I want to encourage all Cowboys fans. We really need to be focusing and pushing positive energy toward our team, toward our coach. And I know we might say, well, it doesn't matter what we do and what we think. It absolutely does matter what we do and what we think. Energy is real. Positivity is real. I don't know if you guys are believers or not. It doesn't really matter in the faith. But there's a proverb that says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Right? So if you think that your team sucks, and your coach sucks, and your quarterback sucks, and all of these people suck, right? Your front office is terrible, then that's just what they'll be. But if you push positivity towards your team, there will be positive results. Okay, and so I want to encourage everybody, please follow. First of all, please like this video. Please like the video. Please share the video. Please subscribe to the Blast Music 247 YouTube page. Please subscribe to Stargazer Sports YouTube page. Please follow me on all social media platforms. I have it here. I will say it. I never said it, but I'll say it for the listeners. My Instagram is Stargazer_sports. My Facebook is Stargazer Sports Media. My Twitter is The Stargazer but instead of an E in Gazer, it's a 3, and then there's 2 R's at the end. And I encourage you guys to also please donate. Please donate to my YouTube platform, guys, because as you donate, I just can upgrade my camera and a lot of things like that, all types of products, and also be able to use that money to do things like go to training camp, games, and things like that to bring you guys exclusive content. You donate to my channel through Cash App, which is $STARGAZERS Sports. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. I hope that you guys have a blessed evening, and I will see you again next week on Monday at 7 o'clock. You guys have a good night.